my name is Tony Cottrell, and I'm in charge of the Forge World studio and also the specialist product that we do as part of Games Workshop. I was also responsible for putting together and designing at least the project team that put together the new Warhammer World. So that was an exciting stuff for us. We've been working on the last couple of years as well.
Cool. How long did it take to put together this concept of Warhammer World?
Overall, the new Warhammer World took us about 2 years to put together, really, from our first basic designs that we had. And then it really was down to the hard work. I mean, there was quite a lot of construction work that we did. Right. We raised the roof on the place to try and give us some more space than we'd had before. But the main thing was expanding our exhibition area, which is all our wonderful model displays. So the miniature displays, hopefully you'll see some in this video, really are fantastic. And they really there's no quick way of doing those. That is just people painting models, and that just takes time. And that really took us over a year to get all the models painted and all the new displays put together.
So what was the main concept behind doing something like this for Warhammer World, as far as, I mean, I know you want to show off your product and all that kind of stuff, but you also have play areas and all that kind of thing too. So what was the ideas behind all that?
What we wanted really from the hobbyists that enjoy Warhammer and Warhammer 40,000, we wanted those hobbyists to be able to find a real mecca to be able to visit, and to celebrate everything about their hobby, what they were interested in. And that might have been collecting the models, it might have been painting the models, it might have been gaming, any of those aspects. And we wanted to be able to do them all at this, to be able to celebrate them all at a single venue. So that's what we're trying to bring together here, is all those things. So you can come along and you can spend the day looking at wonderfully painted models. You can spend the day just admiring the vast collections of those models. Right. But also you can get involved with some activities, and that might be gaming, or it might be part of a tournament which we run regularly, and it might be some painting workshops or whatever. And of course then there's a whole extra experience in buying things and visiting Bugman's Bar as well for refreshments.
Right. Bugman's Bar is awesome, by the way, very good food. So what have you got, I don't know, anything you can tell us about the future, any plans that you might have or anything like that? I know you might have restrictions there on what you can and cannot say. But
yeah, we'd have to kill you if we told you all those. But no, seriously, it's always going to be, there's no real secret, because it's going to be a big celebration about Citadel miniatures and Forge World models. And Worlds of Warhammer and the Worlds of Warhammer 40,000. So we just like to do more of those. And we've done some really fantastic stuff. The guys have worked just really beyond the call of duty to produce what they have. But of course, once you finish that, you just want to do more. You just want to do even more bigger displays. So, you know, if you like displays of Warhammer and Warhammer 40,000, you're going to love it. And one thing I would say is you come back 6 months or a year later, you're going to love it again, because we'll have some more new stuff for you. Correct. So we'll always be adding stuff. That's the idea. It is a breathing exhibition, if you like.
Right. Good. So, Forge World. What was the original concept behind Forge World? Was it kind of its own thing, and then you kind of connected it to it, or did it grow out of Games Workshop?
Well, the Forge World is, I mean, I've worked for Games Workshop for many, many years. One of the desires that I always had was to be able to expand some of the model ranges that we did as part of our Citadel model ranges to be broader than they were. And that was possible only by us looking at different methods of designing and producing those models. So we looked at about 16 years ago, I guess now, at being able to produce resin models at high quality and be able to do that. And that allowed us to do more big models of tanks and things like that weren't instantly possible with the Citadel plastic range. And it also allowed us to do a lot of models which many of our veteran hobbyists really wanted, but we couldn't put into the main Citadel ranges because they really weren't going to sell in the quantities that warranted that. Right. So it enabled us to go and, you know, almost do that sort of vanity creation of models that we as hobbyists wanted, and we felt that many of the veteran hobbyists wanted. So that's where it was born out of, and but it was a growing strategy. We had to try and see what people wanted and try and follow their lead. And people have been, you know, very generous with their admiration and their purchasing of Forge World, and it's been a great success. And you know, it now has a range of over 1,000 models, and we're very keen to keep on expanding that.
So how often do you sell those big titans?
How often do we sell them? Not not as often as we sell Space Marines.
Oh, of course.
So there's a lot more Space Marines out there than there is Titans. It's a bit like the real life Warhammer 40,000.
Right.
But just like real life Warhammer 40,000 is, a lot of Space Marines is cool, but one Titan is cool as well.
Way cool.
And they have probably about the same power as they would in the 41st millennium, as far as commercially to Games Workshop. And that we like to sell a lot of Space Marines, but we're more than happy just to sell a few Titans.
A few Titans, okay, good. All right, well, appreciate your time, Tony, very much so.
Nice to meet you.
And we've got more coming for you, but we want to, of course, thank Tony and his contributions here. So we'll see you in a few minutes, y'all.
So we have a small exhibition to begin with here, which is celebrating the history of Citadel miniatures and throughout the beginnings of Warhammer and Warhammer 40,000. Some of the stuff that you're seeing is some of the early models that were done by Citadel and eventually integrated as part of the Warhammer Fantasy Battle range back in the early 80s. Some of the dioramas on here date back from the 80s and the 90s, and they were really done for promoting the games that we did at that time, and they've been tucked away for many years out of sight, and we've kind of now got the opportunity to bring some of those out and show them off. Most of the time, the only time people got to see them was in copies of White Dwarf or whatever. So these are some of the boxes from Warhammer 40,000, the original boxes. There's even an Imperial Space Marines box, one of the original plastics. They're still sealed with 1987 air in it.
Wow.
Well, we think so. If we opened it up, we'd probably find it's got the wrong models in it, but let's assume it's the right one.
Right.
Yeah. This display was completed last year as part of the launch of the new Age of Sigmar Warhammer game. And features Chaos versus Stormcast Eternals. I think the wonderful thing for me about all the displays here is that all the models are such beautifully painted by the miniature painting teams, and it's you don't often see wonderfully painted models as often as you always want to, but seeing them in such large collection is
Right.
probably unique.
Unique doesn't seem to accurately encompass the feeling of awe I experienced while walking through this museum. The sheer amount of time and dedication that went into each and every model, turret, tree, and blade of grass is truly staggering. Even if you aren't a player of GW's products, this museum is just as worthy as any other of its kind, if not more so, for the skill and passion put into it. I would encourage anyone within reasonable distance to stop by and wander these halls on a free weekend. It would be well worth your time. Not only does Warhammer World have a stunning museum of miniatures, of which I've only showed a fraction, they also have a fully functional event area. Tables upon tables, complete with masterfully crafted terrain, await the next battle to take place. A fully stocked Black Library store is also there, brimming with almost any conceivable tome you could possibly desire. A fully stocked Game Workshop store is also nestled in the event area, complete with apparel, armies, and paints. And if that weren't enough, the Warhammer World event area also sports a fully stocked Forge World store where the most powerful miniatures await their next master. It was in the event area that I was able to sit down with Nick, one of the event directors of Warhammer World. So I'm here with Nick, and he's in charge of all of the events and all of the activities that go on here in the event center of Warhammer World. So tell us what you kind of do and how that all goes on.
Yeah, sure. So here at Warhammer World, we have a dedicated events team whose entire job it is to run really cool activities and events for people to come along, spend the weekend with us, play with their miniatures, and have a great time and see what Warhammer World's all about. For us, we really want to create the atmosphere of a really relaxed, chilled out event. All of our events are focused towards friendly gameplay, sportsmanship and attitude is the key.
Right.
And that's really what we're here for. We give people that chance to come along and meet new people, indulge in the hobby for the weekend, and really, and experience the hobby in a different way. Obviously, a lot of people are used to playing games at home or their gaming club, and when you come here to Warhammer World and play on the tables we've got here, in the Empire Castle, drinking beer at Busman's Bar, it's just it changes from being playing a few games of Warhammer 40,000 into being a really cool hobby experience.
Yeah.
It's really indulgent.
So how many events do you have, say, in a month?
So we run maybe 2 or 3 events every month, and we like to keep the variety going. So we run events for a lot of events for Warhammer 40,000 and Warhammer Age of Sigmar. We've also just started doing events for The Hobbit again, and they've been very popular. And we ran our first Blood Bowl event a couple of weeks ago. Our first Blood Bowl event for the last 8 years, and that was sell-out, so that's been popular too. So we really try to get the variety there. Yeah. We also run different styles of events for each gaming system. So we do events where you come by yourself and play, like Throne of Skulls. We do doubles weekends, like Battle Brothers, where you come with a gaming partner. We do team events. We do games that are huge, games that are small. Lots of different chances to play with your miniatures.
Great. So about how many people show up on a regular basis? I mean, as we're looking here, there's probably 20 people in here, 20, 25, maybe 30 people in here.
Yeah, the gaming hall has always got a lot of people in it. Obviously, we're in a holiday season over here at Warhammer World at the moment, so people are just coming in during the holidays and playing. At our events, we have our attendances are different depending on what we're aiming for. Typical events, we sold out events recently up to 100 people. We have 40,000 on the Blood Bowl and the Hobbit events, especially up to 40,000. Age of Sigmar, we're averaging about 40 or 50 people coming to them at the moment, which is really great. Obviously, it being quite a new system, we're just building it up at the moment, and we're quite happy with that.
How long have you been doing this?
I've been in the events team for 6 years, since 2010. Yeah,
6 years.
It's a long time, so I've a few events under my belt now.
So you're mainly based here, or do you also travel to conventions as well?
So,
or?
Well, all the gaming events we run here, in the hall here, because there are not many places in the world that are better than Warhammer World to run a gaming event in. But we have in the past done other events as well. We just did Warhammer Fest in Coventry here in the UK.
Right.
That was very popular a couple of weeks ago. We've got other events we're doing around the world as well. But in terms of actually running gaming events like Throne of Skulls, we're at the moment just doing them in the UK. There are talks and whispers of doing things elsewhere in the world. That would be great. If you guys want that, then let us know. But at the moment, it's just Warhammer World.
Okay. So for, I guess, people who want to know, how do you get in on the different events? Who do you contact? Where do you go to find information?
So the Warhammer World website is the place to go. It's really easy to find. Just Google Warhammer World is the first one that comes up, and we have all the lists of all our events that go on there. You can find links to the rules packs for the events and the ticket links as well. You can get tickets through there as well. We also have a really active Facebook page, Games Workshop Warhammer World. Just find us on there and click us, and that's where we announce loads of stuff as well. We've got loads of photo feeds from previous events and loads of new things, exciting announcements and things, and loads of chat between people who are coming to the events as well, so that's really cool too.
So this part of the hall maybe focuses more on actual playing the game. Do you have other kinds of events like painting, modeling, all that kind of stuff too?
So yes, well, so in the past our masterclass events were very popular. That's when we had big painting names, for example the Metal team or the Forge World team come and do masterclass events. We used to use a facility we have here on site to do that. That facility has since been taken over by someone else, a very exciting new department has taken it over. The Specialist Game Studio took that over recently to be creating things like Blood Bowl and other things that are upcoming. So that space at the moment is currently not usable, so we are looking to do more hobby events in the future, like masterclass events and demonstration pods, that sort of thing. But at the moment, we currently don't have the facility to do so right now. we have been doing things like demonstration pods in the hall where we use a sort of television and a camera and stuff, but the really premium events where we have people sit down at tables and a big screen and everything like that, we're waiting for the right facility to do so. We don't want to do a sort of workshop, we want to do it really properly, so look out for that in the future, that will come, I promise.
Got it. All right, super. Well, that has been the events and activities and all the good stuff that you can have here at Warhammer World. Definitely take a look at all those places on the web where you can try to get involved on this. And thank you, Nick.
Thank you.
Appreciate it so much. And we'll be back in a little bit.
Bugman's Bar is yet another perk that Warhammer World boasts. This rustic setting, complete with life-size statues and other thematic decorations, also sports a full-service restaurant and bar, capable of quenching the mightiest thirst and the deepest stomach. Here I was able to sit down with Phil, one of the Games Workshop designers. So here I am with Phil. He is one of the game designers, product designers, and background authors for Games Workshop. So why don't you, that's just skimming the surface, why don't you take us a little bit deeper than that, Phil?
Sure, okay. So my job is basically to evoke the awesome background and lore that goes behind our Citadel miniatures.
Okay.
Our armies battle over and their wars and crusades. Essentially, it's a job that involves evoking as many cool scenes and conflicts as we possibly can. So it's very rewarding, actually. It's very fun to do. Obviously, we want to show the models off to the greatest possible light. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we do everything we can to make it as sort of cinematic and epic as possible.
Okay. So you just really text, or do you also have an input on the different kinds of things that show up in the different codexes? Because I know John was telling me earlier that you actually did work on some of the codexes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've been doing this for a while now. So yeah, we work together as a team, of course. But yeah, I've headed up a number of codexes and army books over the years, and obviously contributed to rule books as well. Okay. We work pretty tightly as actually we're kind of in two teams, but we work together as one really when it comes down to it. And yeah, it's very rewarding because there are lots of like-minded people there, and
that's good.
We like nothing more than coming up with cool new stuff for our war games.
So you're all kind of pretty much part of the hobby, right?
That's right, yeah.
It's not just a job for you guys; it's more of an extension of your hobby.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, I think it's more than that really, because we really live and breathe this stuff. If you look around this place, you can see it's pretty captivating really. And so if it's easy to be inspired when you've got like a dwarf bar and a museum full of cool dioramas and displays.
Right.
And a lot of us kind of grew up with this stuff, and it's in our DNA in some ways. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, it's a real treat to work on that stuff. But we still put a lot of thought and a lot of effort into these things. You know, it's not like we're just sort of making up as we go along. We refine, we come up with as many things as we can, and we refine it and boil it down and distill it.
Well, there's
something that's more developed.
There's a history there that
yeah, absolutely.
For lack of a better term, there's a history that you have to stick to, and you have to be, I guess, you have to stay within that and you can't compromise it at all, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, what we do is essentially we evolve and we reinforce the background that has existed for some time, and we try and show it in new light. But yeah, we stay true to the original material that obviously this is built on. Yeah. Privilege, really. Yeah. So we can't go too far off piste and end up writing a story that's completely different from our main ranges and our main stories. But within that, there's still freedom to explore really large, epic themes, and sometimes to do something very brave and revolutionary, like, for example, the Age of Sigmar, the project which came out last year. Yeah. Which is a real breath of fresh air, actually, and a chance to really open the whole thing out and tell hundreds of new stories.
So how did that come about? The evolution, I guess you could call it, into Age of Sigmar and all of that kind of thing. Who's, maybe not a specific person's idea, but how did that evolve, I guess?
Well, it's a company-wide thing. Something that large is it's not really just one person's input. Really, we've all built together to make this essentially the most sort of versatile canvas we can. Yeah. And one of the main reasons is that we basically want to engineer a place where our miniatures can live and breathe in dozens of different ways. So instead of saying like you have to have your guys here at this time, we're saying you could actually, as a collector, you could pioneer your own world or your own environment, your own people, and it's much freer and more open as a result. So it enables us, like I say, to tell a lot more sort of stories, have a lot more monsters, a lot more people. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, more open-ended.
So how much time does it actually take to put together a codex or something to that effect?
Okay, so that's a difficult question because it really depends on the codex.
Right, okay.
But if say we were to pick a kind of a generic codex for want of a better term, we're looking at, from beginning to end, for the writers, we're looking at a couple of months. But then there's artwork and there's the models and there's the photography, and it really is a very it's a multifaceted process.
Right.
And actually it's more, it probably takes more like a year really from beginning to end. But yeah, we stagger it so that we obviously, you know, when we're working on project A, the sculptors are working on project B, and so forth. Yeah. So really, what we do is we breathe life into what the sculptors make. Gotcha. But they're at the front in guiding the ship, really. Yeah. With basically coming up with the most beautiful Wargames miniatures they can.
So when you have a codex that needs to be revised, I would imagine that takes less time.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. There are some that are from the ground up. So we've got last year released Codex Skitarii, Codex Cult Mechanicus, which were quite new. Right. Even though those factions have been in the background for decades. I mean, you know, they're right from the start. Yeah, we haven't really published a book specifically about those guys, so that was a really kind of a fresh project, if you will. Okay. And sometimes we'll do a project which is revisiting an old friend, and basically we keep all the best bits, and then we add more really good bits too. Right. So you end up with the best possible iteration of that book. Okay. So a good example is Codex Craft Worlds, which is the latest Eldar-based book, which is a bit more conventional, I think. And yeah, we've got the battle tomes for Age of Sigmar, which are another thing entirely. You know, we're really inventing a lot of new factions, like for example the Flesh Eater Corpse hang up, really spooky, creepy stuff, which is a great way to revisit part of the old Vampire Counts range and shine a bit more of a light on it.
Okay. Now I've heard, I haven't had actual conversation, but I've heard that you are actually going to be starting to add, I think it was maybe at Gamma, that they were talking about adding a point system so that you could play Age of Sigmar stuff tournament style.
That's correct.
That is going to happen.
Well, that's one of the 3 ways to play that we're working on. That we have worked on really. Which I think is a really great idea, because there are loads of types of gamers out there. Yeah. And we have people, you know, in the world, they're focused on one over the other at various times. But really, it's quite a broad church. There's loads of ways to play. And I've gone through various stages in my life when I've played in different styles. And this 3 ways to play thing, it digs deep into all 3 of those, and we've kind of boiled it down to 3 core styles there. And yeah, one of them involves matched play, which is where you get your points values, and that would lend itself far more to a tournament experience. Which I think there's a subsection of our customers and our hobbyists that will welcome that with open arms, really.
Yeah, good. What's the rollout for something like that? Has it already begun, or is it coming soon?
It's coming real soon. Yeah, I think General's Handbook is out in July, I believe. But don't quote me on that.
Maybe or maybe not.
When we work on these things, it's months in advance.
Sometimes you're not going to release it until it's ready, right?
We're going to make sure it's right.
Absolutely, good. All right. So, what is your over the years? How long have you been playing, first of all?
Well, that's a dauntingly long time. Well over 25 years now. I remember piecing together the old Battle of the Farm with Rogue Trader with my little sister, crazy ages ago. Yeah. And I really fell in love with Advanced Hero Quest as well. And, so the release of Silver Tower has been like a really big deal for me, because it's enabled me to kind of revisit some of that dungeon crawling nostalgia, but all in the Age of Sigmar. So it's got all these sort of up to date, the beautiful models in there. They're just really bang on. That's some of the best I've ever seen.
So over the years, what's your favorite army?
Oh, that is a tough call, because I tend to kind of put my heart and soul into all the ones I work on.
Top 2 then.
Okay, top 2. Well, I've got a soft spot for Tyranids, I have to say. I'm a big Tyranids fan. Because I think you have to have good villains as well as good heroes. And you don't get much more sort of villainous than the Tyranids in some ways, and they're completely alien. And I've painted like 300 Gaunts and a ton of Carnifexes and Tyranid warriors and what have you. seriously, I have untold amounts of these things. I'm going to break them all out and sort of populate my garage with them at some point. But also, I've always been a big fan of the Eldar, the Dark Eldar, the Harlequins, that stuff. So that's kind of fun.
That's great.
I'm a Xenos guy, really, when it comes down to it.
Yeah. All right, so you also work on, now the authorship that you do is just mainly codexes and rule books and that type of stuff?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, so you don't branch off into the Black Library or anything like that?
I've done a few bits and pieces.
You have?
Yeah, it's for me, it's all about the Citadel publications. Really.
Okay.
They're the meat and drink.
All right, cool, very much. All right, well, thank you for your time, Phil.
No pleasure.
I appreciate it so much.
Lovely talking to you.
And we'll talk to you guys in a little bit.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.